Sponsored by Imaging DNA. Ideas, images, insight. The core of the conversation is the image at imagingdna.com.
Hey, welcome to the trailer. Come on in.
On the next, okay?
Ever wonder what it takes to live a life creatively? So do we. That's why we're here, to find out what clever people do to succeed in the arts, business, and education. I'm Cecily Korst, and this is the Trailer Talks. Unfortunately, right now, I'm a little geographically separated from the trailer. So we borrowed a friend's attic and an internet connection. We're gonna Skype all of these great people. So come on, it's gonna be a good trip.
Today, we're on Skype with Cathy Unruh, TV journalist, author, and animal rights advocate. Let's hear her story.
Your life is so interesting. So I'm excited to hear about it.
Okay.
All right. So can you describe your journey to this point?
Oh, where do you want me to start?
Wherever you want.
Let's see. I grew up on a hobby farm in the little state of Delaware. A hobby farm being where you have animals for fun.
Right.
It's not how you make your living. And so I came to know all sorts of animals there. Horses, sheep, cat, dogs, the whole spectrum. So very early on, I gained an appreciation of animals. Mm-hmm. Then I fell into my career of television broadcasting, which was wonderful and exciting, and it was just a hugely adrenaline-supplying career. I loved it. Mm-hmm. Then I also fell in love with a guy who was a little bit older and wanted to retire. So we retired, which that has brought me on this path of exploring different parts of the world, learning about trap, neuter, return, which is working with cats, which gave me a beautiful cat named Lucy Miracle, who we'll probably talk about later, yes. And has opened the door for me to do all sorts of more work for animals, which is my passion.
Nice. In your broadcast journalism, tell me a little bit about that piece of your life.
I really liked the huge breaking news stories that kept the adrenaline going, and I was pretty good at it. So I got sent to a lot of, like the LA riots, if you remember them, or I'd go to the hurricanes, or I'd go to the things that were just happening and breaking where you just throw your suitcase in the plane and go and report live from whatever's happening. That was what I loved to do, much more so than sitting behind the anchor desk. That's a great job, but, you're sitting behind a desk versus being out in the world.
So that transition from going to that job to what you're doing now, how did that happen for you?
It was horrible. It was just horrible. It was like running from 100 miles an hour to slowing down to about 5. Oh. And I did everything in the world that you shouldn't do at the same time. I, quit my job and went off and got married and completely changed my lifestyle. So it took me 3 years to adjust. The marriage happily has survived and thrived. And now, I have become accustomed to working more at a desk, which is what I do when I'm writing and so forth. I still have a TV show, so I can kind of get back in the studio once in a while.
So tell me about Lucy and how you met her.
We arrived on this island in the Bahamas called Cat Cay, which is a very small, very exclusive island. Lots of mansions and wealthy people hanging out there. And we came, and of course, I'm always looking at the animals, and they were starving cats all over the place. And nobody was taking care of them on this island where people had so much. And I shouldn't say nobody. Occasionally, someone would feed them, but everyone was transitional. They came and stayed for a little while. They left, so the animals didn't have a steady supply of food. And there had been an effort made to spay and neuter them at one time in the past. So I just saw a need and got together with another couple, and we did a trap return program, which is where you trap the cats, you bring them in, you neuter them, you return them to where they came from. Mm-hmm. And my husband and I also set up feeding stations so that they would continue to be fed. But little Lucy was so small and starving that she barely survived her surgery. So I brought her home, and that's how her journey with us began.
And then you wrote a novel about her.
Yes.
Which is wonderful. It's such a sweet story.
Yeah, she's, it's actually told in her voice, and it's heavily fictionalized. I like to make that really clear because not all of those horrible things actually happened on Cat Cay. But it does, I hope, what I like it to do besides entertaining people is bring them into the mind of what it's like to be a cat in that situation and arouse our compassion to help other animals.
Now, you also specialize in cat or animal body language.
Yeah, well, if you spent any time around animals and you start to relate to them, you can really begin to understand what they're trying to tell you.
Do you have a guide that's out there? Because I didn't find anything online.
No, I don't have a guide. I do lots of articles and lots of talking about it. And if you want to run through how cats communicate with us, I'd be happy to do so. There's a few really simple ways.
That would be great. I would love that.
Okay, so the first thing is their eyes. As with humans, you know, we use eye contact. We blink, humans blink to lubricate our eyes. Cats don't. They blink as a means of expression. So if you want to really talk to a cat, just blink your eyes slowly as you look into theirs. And that is a say, I trust you. That's a very good indicator of trust. If a cat is making direct eye contact with you and won't look away, you want to be the one to look away, because that could mean fear or aggression. Their ears are very significant. Up, happy, down, scared. Maybe I'm inviting you to play. Back, maybe the same thing. So we learn to read their ears. Their tails, straight up, I'm happy, I'm confident. Down, ooh, something's wrong with me. Wagging side to side, just like a dog. I'm kind of happy, or maybe I'm asking you to play, or maybe I'm even hunting. So you just learn to read the signals that they send, including, of course, with their voices.
Neat. So do you do the same thing with dogs too?
Yes. And dogs communicate in very much the same way, only they use their eyes in different ways. Now, dogs have a part of the brain called the amygdala, which we humans share, from which our emotions are believed to originate. And dogs have that in the same brain structures as we do, which we believe is why dogs are so empathetic to us. They're so attuned to our emotions. So they can actually read our faces. They can learn to read what their human face says. And so we can use eye contact with them in most of the ways that we do with other humans. And they read our body language in the same way that we read theirs. Ears and tails again.
Do you think humans are sort of missing out on something that maybe our cats and our dogs have?
I think that a lot of humans do. I mean, we're still fighting a battle that started back in the 17th century when this philosopher named Rene Descartes said animals don't have emotions. And it's taken a long, long time, even just up into this century, for scientists to say, oh yes, animals do have emotions, and here's these many studies that show us that they do have emotions. So we're starting to understand that, and those of us who know it and who have a two-way relationship with the animals with whom we share our lives, we can have full, rich relationships. But there are lots of humans who think that's not possible, and yes, they are missing something, in my opinion. And cats are the classic example, because humans will say, oh, cats, they're so independent, and they do whatever they want. You know, they don't care about us. Not true. Not true.
I agree. I think they do care about us an awful lot. What do you think of your work now resonates most with your audience?
I think that coming to understand about animals, there's huge interest out there. I mean, American homes have pets. We have a huge percentage of homes that have pets, and they want to know their pets better. So that's a big topic of conversation for me in article requests and so forth. Help me to understand my pet's emotions. Help me to understand my pet's moods. Help me know how to take care of my pet. But also, what is resonating more and more, and what delights me, is that people are also recognizing that animals that have long been used for food or entertainment are also sentient creatures who have emotions. And we are starting as a society to recognize that we need to treat them more humanely. I like that part.
You have a whole page on your website about going vegan.
Yes.
At what point have you always been vegetarian or vegan, or?
It started in stages. Back on the hobby farm, you know, we would raise the little calves and we'd feed them and give them bottles and so forth. And I realized that that was what was turning up on my plate. So it started no red meat, then no poultry, then no fish, no cruelty products. So it's been a process over many years. And some people do it just one step, boom, I'm going vegan. You know, Bill Clinton, Brad Pitt, we have big names out there who say, this is what I'm going to do, either for health or ethical reasons. And then a lot of us take a longer time on our journey.
What is success going to be for you in the future?
Oh, success for me, and I know that I won't see it in my lifetime, but success for me would be all humans recognizing that all sentient creatures should be treated compassionately. So every movement, every step that I see towards that is a little bit of success. And that's why I'm doing all this work, to raise consciousness and awareness.
And you're doing a lovely job. What's the key to your success so far?
I think just determination, anything, you have to believe in yourself and you have to believe in what you're doing. And if it comes from your heart, if it's truly your passion, then you stick to it. So determination, stick-to-itiveness, and this is what I believe, and I'm not wavering, and I'm going to continue on my journey. Even at those days when I wish I were out chasing some big news story and instead I'm sitting at my computer writing. I determined to keep doing it.
Yeah, what's your inspiration?
Other people's stories. When other people reach out to me and say, everything from I went to the shelter and rescued an animal instead of buying one. Mm-hmm. Everything from that to I'm changing my diet. I'm going to stop eating this animal, or I'm going to become a vegan. Other people's stories where I know that through my work and through the work of others who share my beliefs have come to treat animals more compassionately. That's success.
Do you think your journalism helps in the creative career that you have now?
Absolutely. It's ironic. I majored in English, and I went to grad school. I was going to be an English professor, and I became a graduate teaching assistant, so I was teaching freshman English at a university, and said, this is just not for me because I don't want to be so confined. I want to get out in the world and do something else. And so I became a television reporter. I went from writing long form at graduate school to learning how to say things in a minute and 30 seconds. And now I'm back to writing long form once again. So my journey's been like that. But the journalism, absolutely. Talking to people, being able to hear them, polishing your writing skills, your communication skills, definitely a big help.
What was this past year's pinch me moment for you?
Well, I would say when the novel was first released, so that's not in this calendar year, but in October it will be 1 year since the novel debuted. And that's a pretty exciting thing when your first novel's published. That would be like, oh, this really happens.
Do you have another one in you? What's your next thing going forward?
I'm actually working on one, and it's completely different with a completely different point of view, but it will, of course, share some of my philosophies, but in a very entertaining way, if I get it done.
I'm sure you will.
I will.
What do you think the one thing is that people should know who are embarking on a creative life?
You need to know, I would say, what it is that you want to be creative about. What is your talent? That should be obvious, and I hope that you really have a talent in what you're embarking on. And then just the stick-to-itiveness, the determination, don't give up. It's a huge sea out there with lots of talented creative people, and as you know, people can get out there now. They can create their own websites, they can put up their own blogs, they can just do a video show if they'd like to. So the sea is bigger and bigger with fishes and fishes and fishes competing for attention. So if you really, really want to do it, hang in there. Be realistic, be determined.
That was a peek inside of Cathy Unruh's life and journey. You can find out more about Cathy on Facebook, YouTube, wedu.org, and at her website, cathyunruh.com. We'd also like to thank Imaging DNA for their generous sponsorship.
While you're out surfing, check out our website at www.thetrailertalks.com. I'm Cecily Korst. Be safe and have fun. She wants to help. Okay, so that's it? That's where you're gonna be. You know you're in frame, right? It's kind of a pain in the neck. I have to crop you out. You'll be fine. You just... Oh, God, dog. Stop eating dead things. We'll be good.